Man, finally, today is the day I can buy my long-awaited Steam, $1,000. Well, then I guess I'll just get a Steam Deck. You have to be kidding me. They doubled the price? Well, okay, I'll just get a normal console. What the... Even the console with no games is raising in price. You know what? I actually have something better than that. Well, it's, you know, not perfect, but it's mine, you know,
No, we're building a better console. In this video, I have planned 5 major improvements for my best console project so far. Some of them you might even recognize from your beloved consoles, and some of them took me weeks to implement. There's also a huge announcement I have to make at the end of the video, so stick around to see it all unfold in real time. So now, let's get to work! Now, I have to admit, the first console I made was not perfect. And I mean, it totally worked, but it just had some very obvious flaws. And for now, we're going to ignore them and actually add something that I wanted to be there from the beginning. You see, rewinding back to the first video, I said, because I'm at the moment making another DIY retro handheld console, which is miles ahead of this one, and that small black box never made it onto YouTube. Why, you may ask? Well, it's because of this guy, the headphone jack. You see, when I would plug in the headphones, they would just kind of not work. And this time I wanted to do it right. So after several days of reading spec sheets and designs, I added the jack. But of course, I still have no idea if it will work, so I guess we'll just find out later. Next came something that I think was long overdue even in the last design. This is how the main board looked in the last console. I mean, I don't even blame myself for making the screen off center or making the board much larger than it needed to be, but just look at the space. Since I am just dumb, I chose the wrong footprint for the ESP, and then I had to bend the pins to fit the slimmer layout. But after that, I couldn't push it as close to the board as I would like. This is what I would call smart design. This time, all of it has to go. One board for one console. Now let's address the elephant in the room, and I mean literally the elephant. It's huge. This is something that's supposed to be pocketable, handheld, small, and this console is none of those things. So we will be shrinking it to half the size this time. And this time, of course, we are not leaving screen bezels like this, and we have to make the design more interesting, because we are not going to settle for a white brick like this. Now here comes the part you may find a little bit controversial. And you see, I was always a little bit curious of how the professionals would handle something that I am introducing into my own designs. And with that in mind, it just kind of turns out that you can order PS4 replacement buttons without actually owning a PS4. So I think you might see where this is going. Sony, please do not sue me, please, I swear. Great, so we have a design that looks good, feels good, and you might ask, what more would I want to add here? And so the last thing I have prepared for the console is actually kind of my dream since I started this whole thing. It's gonna be a huge announcement and I will save it for later. But hey, just before that, we have a console to build, so let's get to work. Just before we go on, I have a small confession to make. Do you remember my technical issues, we may call it, from my last video with the SMD components? Well, okay, so look, I could either run it back with the ever-bridging connector and spend hours on assembly myself, or I could just ask the sponsor of today's video to do it for me. And I think you might know what I did. There is not a lot of services I could genuinely recommend these days, but JLC PCB is surely one of them. Oh yeah, and by the way, 6 of the boxes behind me were purchased with my own cash, before they even reached out to sponsor me. So I will not bore you with an ad read, let me actually show you what matters.
As with all of my projects, everything starts in KiCad. Here with JLC's built-in plugin, I can generate all of the necessary files with a single click. Then, moving to their website with a single drag and drop, I can actually get the full quote. Nice. But this website, I think, is what really makes JLC stand out. You can literally see how your part is gonna look like. And you know how some companies brag about having a Gerber viewer? Well, guess what? On JLC's site, you can even see how the assemble board will look like. How cool is this?
I was already very relieved in the process, but I did not expect the boards to turn out this well. And you'll see them in a second, don't worry. So whenever you need any boards, assembly, machining, or specialty 3D printing, make sure to check out JLC PCB through my link in the description down below. And thanks again to JLC PCB for sponsoring this video. Now that looks good, guys, let me tell you that. Would you look at this beauty, guys? Holy smokes. Now, one thing I didn't mention about this board is that it basically requires no soldering, because of these little JST connectors. Some of the parts, however, couldn't really get the same treatment, so I am left with the screen, ESP and headphone jack to solder by hand.
And would you look at that, all of the electronics are complete. I'm just kidding, it was not that easy. I of course had to mess something up. The quick connector for the speaker actually didn't fit like at all. So I had to completely desolder it from the board, and one botched wire later, we are actually done with the electronics. The keen-eyed viewers out there might have noticed that actually there are no buttons for the board, like at all. So let's assemble them as well. And that's done. You just place them right on top. But just before we get to designing the case for this thing, there is one more thing that we have to check. And that's basically whether if this audio chip is coming back to haunt me. I think you might know this game. Oh yeah, I gotta switch. Okay, so the speaker works. The screen looks so weird, but that's just on the camera, so yeah. Okay guys, you're now very close to the headphones, so I guess you'll hear something. Oh yeah, it's playing. Like, yes, I was working on this for so long. I messed up. And you know, I mess up on a daily basis. I mean, electronics is not easy. However, this time I messed up in a way that I cannot really fix it. Some things you just cannot foresee, and that was the case with my button membranes. It turns out that they aren't perfectly conductive, and by imperfectly I mean around 1000 ohms. And you could say, well okay then, just replace the membranes with some normal buttons like I used in my previous build, and well, I can't.
Whatever
solder
you're playing, it won't work. You can't defeat me.
No, I know. But he can.
And trust me when I say I really tried to save those old boards, but there was just no way around 4-plated through holes that simply weren't there. But looking at those new boards, I think we can all agree that this was a change for the better. The next thing we're gonna do is basically take the screen off here and put it here, so let me do that real quick. But just before we do that, I have one more test for you. Please just fit. If you were to point out one thing that makes this console just bad, what would it be? Maybe just the fact that it's large, maybe the fact that it has just obvious screen bezels, but what if I told you that I think that overall fixing the shape of this thing and the way it looks would actually kind of compensate both of those issues? As I have told you before, I wanted to do something special for this console, and I think I might have borrowed it from PlayStation again. So look, in my defense, I have never ever owned a PSP before. I have probably played on it twice over at my friend's house, so shout out to my friend Maciek, but aside from that, I really don't mind this shape. I think it's ergonomic, much cleaner, and I think with a little bit of extra detail, I can make this design come together. One extra tiny improvement to the console that really should have been a thing in the first one is the fact that we actually get to print the thing in one piece. Last time the print bed on my A1 Mini just simply wasn't large enough, so there were some slight adjustments, you might say. Another small change that I think greatly benefits the design are these heated inserts that make the console much more rigid and just easier to work with overall. And now, after all that we've been through, we can actually get to the final assembly. So what is it? What's the big announcement that I have been gatekeeping for all of this video? Well, many of you liked my first video very much. It completely blew my expectations, and now there is actually 1,000 of us, so that's super cool. But I think that this project really shows how that was just the beginning of the journey. I truly think retro gaming is something that we can all benefit from. A getaway from the constant stress and buzz of modern life, and a passion shared by many. And so, addressing the demand from many of your comments and messages, I'm happy to announce that this is the first console to go live on my store right now. It is called the ESP32, getting its name after the microcontroller and because of it being something new for the world. As of now, it's available with a launch discount, and anybody that buys one will get to engrave anything they want on the back of the console. Along with the store, my website nevoltasystems.com is also live, which you can visit for some guides, useful information, and also to contact me. This is truly something I wanted to do since I ever made my first PCB, so thanks to you guys for making this project possible and for all of the support I have gotten from you to date. Make sure to check out the console through the link in the description, and thank you so much for watching. This has been Tom, and until next time.